A Letter to God, Fuentes. About the author, G. Fuentes. Full name: Gregorio López y Fuentes, 1895 to 1966. Nationality: Mexican. Occupation: novelist, journalist, poet. Notable works: El Indio, Tierra, A Letter to God. Writing style: realistic, focused on rural life and social issues in Mexico. Themes: poverty, faith, resilience, and human emotions. Background and setting: time and place. A small rural village in Latin America, possibly Mexico. A farming community dependent on nature. Weather and nature's role. The story begins with a peaceful setting, but a hailstorm changes everything. Nature is both kind, giving crops, and cruel, destroying them. Summary of A Letter to God. The story revolves around Lencho, a poor farmer whose crops are destroyed by a hailstorm. He writes a letter to God, asking for 100 pesos to survive. The postmaster, moved by his faith, collects and sends him 70 pesos. Lencho, unaware of human kindness, thinks the post office employee stole the remaining 30 pesos. The story highlights faith, hope, and irony. A closer look at A Letter to God. Lencho's house and farm. Lencho's house was the only one in the valley, located on a low hill. From the hill, one could see the river and a field of ripe corn. The crops looked promising, but they needed rain for a good harvest. Lencho was hopeful and kept looking towards the northeast sky for rain. The rain arrives. Lencho tells his wife, "Now we're really going to get some water, woman." While they were having dinner, the rain started. The air was fresh and sweet, and the rainfall seemed like a blessing. Lencho felt joyful and said, "These aren't raindrops, they are new coins," comparing the big drops to 10-cent pieces and small ones to 5-cent pieces. The hailstorm and destruction. Suddenly, strong winds started, followed by a hailstorm. The hailstones were large and covered the field like silver coins. The storm lasted for an hour, destroying everything: crops, trees, and flowers. Lencho was heartbroken, saying, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this." He and his family were left with nothing to eat. Lencho's unshakable faith in God. Despite losing everything, Lencho and his family had one hope: God's help. Lencho believed no one dies of hunger and trusted that God would provide. Faith and hope were strong in his heart. That night, he thought about one solution: writing a letter to God. Writing the letter to God. Lencho was a hard-working man, an ox of a man, but he knew how to write. On Sunday morning, he wrote a letter to God, asking for 100 pesos to survive and replant crops. He sealed the letter, wrote "to God" on the envelope, and took it to the post office. He dropped it in the mailbox with faith and hope. The postmaster's response. A postman found the letter and showed it to the postmaster, who was amused but also amazed by Lencho's faith. The postmaster decided to reply to keep Lencho's faith alive. He collected money from employees and friends, even giving part of his salary. Though he couldn't gather 100 pesos, he sent more than half in an envelope signed God. Lencho receives the letter. The following Sunday, Lencho arrived early at the post office. The postman handed him the letter, and the postmaster watched proudly, feeling happy for helping someone. Lencho was not surprised to see the money because he had complete faith in God. However, after counting the money, he became angry. God could not have made a mistake. Lencho writes another letter to God. Lencho believed that some of the money was missing and decided to write another letter to God. He immediately asked for paper and ink and started writing. His brow wrinkled in concentration. After finishing, he bought a stamp, licked it, and affixed it forcefully to the envelope. With determination, he dropped the letter into the mailbox. In his letter, he thanked God but complained that he received only 70 pesos instead of 100. He blamed the post office employees for stealing the rest. He requested God to send the remaining amount, but not through the post office. Important themes in a letter to God. Theme 1. Faith in God. Explanation. The story highlights Lencho's deep faith in God. He firmly believes that God sees everything and will help him. Example from the lesson. Despite losing his crops, Lencho writes a letter to God, requesting 100 pesos. He is so confident that God will help him that he does not doubt for a moment. Theme 2. Human kindness and generosity. Explanation. The postmaster and his staff collect money to help Lencho. This act shows that kindness exists in the world, even though Lencho does not recognize it. Example from the lesson. The postmaster, moved by Lencho's faith, asks his colleagues and friends to donate money. They gather 70 pesos and send it in an envelope signed God. Theme 3. Irony. Explanation. The story ends with situational irony. Lencho, instead of feeling grateful, mistrusts the very people who helped him. He wrongly accuses the post office employees of stealing his money. Example from the lesson. Lencho writes a second letter asking God for the rest of the money but says, "Don't send it through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks." The postmaster and employees who sacrificed for Lencho are falsely blamed. Theme 4. Innocence and blind faith. Explanation. Lencho is an honest, hard-working farmer, but is also innocent and naive. His faith in God is absolute, but he fails to see that God's help actually came through kind people. Example from the lesson. Lencho never suspects that humans might have helped him. He only trusts God. His blind faith prevents him from appreciating human kindness. Key literary devices in a letter to God. Literary device 1. Symbolism. Explanation. Symbolism is when an object, person, or event represents a deeper meaning. Example from the lesson. Rain and hailstorm. The rain symbolizes hope and prosperity. Lencho sees it as new coins. The hailstorm symbolizes destruction and despair as it destroys his crops. Letter to God. It represents Lencho's unshakable faith in divine help. Literary device 2. Irony. Explanation. Irony is when the opposite of what is expected happens. Example from the lesson. Situational irony. Lencho mistakenly believes the post office employees stole his money. Reality: they actually helped him by collecting money. He writes to God, saying, "Don't send it through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks." Literary device 3. Personification. Explanation: personification is giving human qualities to non-human things. Example from the lesson: it was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. The rain is described as if it follows Lencho's prediction. The house, the only one in the valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. The house is described as if it is sitting like a human. Literary device 4. Metaphor. Explanation: a metaphor is a direct comparison between two things without using like or as. Example from the lesson: these aren't raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. Rain is compared to money, showing Lencho's belief that the rain will bring prosperity. The house, the only one in the valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. The house is compared to a person sitting on a hill. Literary device 5. Hyperbole. Exaggeration. Explanation: hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration used for emphasis. Example from the lesson: the house, the only one in the entire valley. There might be other houses, but the phrase emphasizes Lencho's isolation. A plague of locusts would have left more than this. Lencho exaggerates the damage caused by the hailstorm. Conclusion: why literary devices matter. Literary devices make stories more engaging and meaningful. They help express emotions, themes, and deeper messages. In A Letter to God, these devices highlight faith, irony, and human kindness. Character analysis. A Letter to God. Lencho, a man of faith. Who is Lencho? A hard-working farmer who relies on nature for his livelihood. Deeply religious and has unshakable faith in God. Key traits: hopeful and optimistic. Believes that God will help him after his crops are destroyed. Hardworking, described as an ox of a man, meaning he works tirelessly in his fields. Innocent and naive, does not realize that humans, post office staff, helped him and instead suspects them. Example from the story: after the hailstorm destroys his crops, he writes a letter to God, asking for 100 pesos. He gets 70 pesos from the post office, but instead of being grateful, he accuses the post office employees of stealing the rest. The postmaster, a kind and generous man. Who is the postmaster? A fat, amiable, friendly man who runs the post office. Surprised by Lencho's faith, but also touched by it. Key traits: compassionate and kind. Collects money for Lencho to maintain his faith in God. Generous. Even donates part of his own salary to help Lencho. Humorous, but respectful. Initially laughs at Lencho's letter, but later takes it seriously. Example from the story: when he reads Lencho's letter, he says, "What faith? I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter." Collects 70 pesos from his employees and sends it in an envelope signed God. The post office employees, silent helpers. Who are they? Employees working under the postmaster. Not much is said about them individually. Key traits: kind and generous. Help the postmaster collect money for Lencho. Anonymous helpers. They do not seek credit for their actions. Example from the story: they donate money so Lencho does not lose faith in God. Lencho's family, supporting but silent. Who are they? Lencho's wife and children. They are not directly involved in the main events, but provide background to Lencho's life. Key traits: simple and hardworking. They depend on farming for survival. Supportive. The wife is shown preparing dinner and comforting Lencho. Example from the story. Lencho's wife tells him, "No one dies of hunger." Conclusion. What do these characters teach us? Lencho's character shows faith can be powerful, but blind faith can lead to misunderstanding. The postmaster and employees show human kindness exists even if it is not recognized. The story teaches us, have faith, but also recognize the good in people. Gratitude is important. Moral and message of a letter to God. Moral of the story: faith gives strength. Lencho's deep faith in God helps him stay hopeful despite losing his crops. Kindness exists in the world. The postmaster and his employees secretly help Lencho, showing human generosity and compassion. Gratitude is important. Lencho receives help, but wrongly suspects the post office staff instead of appreciating their kindness. Message of the story: believe in goodness, but also recognize human efforts. Faith is powerful, but it should be accompanied by understanding and gratitude. Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in a letter to God, exploring the connection between Lencho's story and global sustainability. SDG 2, Zero Hunger. Explanation: ensures food security and promotes sustainable agriculture to prevent hunger and malnutrition. Example from the story. Lencho and his family depend entirely on their crops for survival. The hailstorm destroys their harvest, leaving them without food. Lencho's letter to God reflects the desperation of farmers facing hunger due to natural calamities. Student actions: start a food donation drive. Collect and distribute food to those in need. Grow a small vegetable garden. Learn about sustainable farming and share produce. Reduce food waste. Plan meals carefully and educate others about saving food. Support local farmers. Buy from farmers markets and promote their work. SDG 13, Climate Action. Explanation: focuses on combating climate change and minimizing its impacts. Example from the story. The unexpected hailstorm represents how extreme weather can ruin lives. Farmers are among the most affected by climate-related disasters. Lencho's faith in divine intervention reflects the real-world need for scientific solutions and proactive action against climate change. Student actions: raise awareness about climate change, organize discussions or poster-making competitions, plant trees and green spaces. Participate in tree planting activities to reduce climate impact. Reduce plastic use. Carry reusable bags, bottles, and say no to plastic waste. Monitor weather changes. Learn about weather patterns and share safety tips for farmers. SDG 1, No Poverty. Explanation: aims to eradicate poverty by ensuring financial stability and equal opportunities. Example from the story. Lencho is a small-scale farmer whose livelihood depends solely on his crops. The destruction of his field pushes him into economic crisis, making him rely on external help. The post office employees secretly help Lencho, symbolizing social support for those in need. Student actions: help struggling families. Participate in fundraising or charity events. Encourage financial literacy. Learn and teach about saving and budgeting. Support small businesses. Buy local products and promote ethical shopping. Volunteer for social causes. Engage with NGOs working on poverty alleviation. SDG 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions. Explanation: encourages trust, justice, and strong institutions to build a fair society. Example from the story: Lencho mistrusts the postal employees, believing they stole his money. Irony: the very people who helped him were the ones he doubted. This highlights the importance of trust and transparency in society. Student actions: promote honesty and trust. Encourage integrity in school and community. Respect and support helpers. Appreciate people working in service roles. Organize discussions on fairness. Talk about trust in institutions and social justice. Write letters to local authorities. Raise concerns about school, environment, or justice issues. Conclusion: the SDGs and our role. A Letter to God connects deeply with hunger, climate change, poverty, and justice. Small steps, big impact. Every action counts. Whether through small daily changes or bigger initiatives, students can help achieve these SDGs. Start today. A Letter to God teaches faith, kindness, and resilience. Let's bring these values to life. A Letter to God is more than just a story. It's a lesson in faith, gratitude, and human kindness. Lencho believed so strongly that his request would be answered, but little did he know that the help he received came from ordinary people. This reminds us that sometimes we are the answer to someone's prayers. A simple act of kindness, a helping hand, or even a word of encouragement can make a world of difference. So, let's take a moment to reflect. Can we be someone's God today? Can we spread hope, share our blessings, and support those in need? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep learning powerful life lessons through literature. Remember, faith moves mountains, but kindness builds bridges. Let's be the reason someone believes in goodness today.